The year's over, ladies and gentlemen, and you know what that means. More opinions, more exclusive video game reveals, and more excitement. 2017 has been such an incredible year for video games, it's almost enough to make you forget all the shit that's going out outside of them. We got a new console launch with a unique form factor, there were new entries in beloved series, a lot of those, and a lot of surprise indie hits as well. I'll go ahead and say it, this year has been my favorite for video games in a long time. My favorite year across both this generation and the last, for sure. So there's a lot to tackle here, folks. Strap on your seatbelt and get ready for some prime fanboy gushing. Last year, I gave the original Gravity Rush's remaster the runner-up spot in the best action game category, despite its combat being the least enjoyable part of the game in my opinion. Like poetry, all good things rhyme. The Gravity Rush 2 has a lot of nice improvements under the hood. Gravity Rush, at its core, is a game about exploration. It's not quite a platformer, however, as you don't jump your way towards your destination, you fall in style towards it. You can rotate the direction of gravity in any way you want, allowing you to skate on walls and the like. The core gameplay concept of falling to places is super cool, and it makes exploring its creative world all the more rewarding. One place where the original game fell flat was its combat. As far as I'm concerned, the game forced combat on the player a bit too often considering how basic the fights were. Just dive kicking ended up being enough for 99% of encounters. Gravity Rush 2 corrects this by making picking up projectiles a worthwhile addition to your moveset and by allowing you to switch between 3 different styles of gameplay. There's the regular moveset, one that's weaker and floatier but more nimble, and one that's stronger but has slower attacks. Being able to switch at any time without pausing does wonders to make battles more dynamic, and those abilities are also very useful when racing around the world. Speaking of the world, it's also nicely fleshed out over the original. It's a sort of Pokemon Gold and Silver sequel, in that it's significantly longer than the previous game, it includes their world on top of the new content, and it ends with a nice sense of closure. Yes, ends. This is not a sequel bait like the first game. Gravity Rush 2 is a real treat, just one that's undermined a bit by how much I enjoyed the top spot in this category. Nier Automata is fucking tubular. The original Nier was terrific in its world building and characters, but it was a very rough Zelda-like mechanically. Nier Automata takes that strong storytelling foundation, and it adds great combat thanks to Platinum Games' contribution. Attacks are weighty when they need to be, flashy when they need to be, it's just a joy to move your main character around. There's a lot to love with Nier Automata's game structure as well. In traditional Drakengard Nier fashion, there's a lot of unique weapons to collect, each with their own story that unravels as you upgrade them. There's a countdown of available side missions in the chapter select screen, so it's easy to hunt down content you might have otherwise missed. Both weapon stories and side missions do a terrific job at keeping you invested in the world beyond its main story. There are only 2 things I can fault Nier Automata for. The first, the boss design relied a bit too heavily on spherical enemies. That's a bit basic. The second of them is being unable to roll back your level without DLC. You can go back to previous points in the story at any point, but when you're gonna kill bosses super quickly, it's not exactly satisfying. What is super satisfying are these first 40 hours or so you'll spend from the moment you start the game until you reach ending E. Those were some of my favorite gaming moments in the past years, and I couldn't unglue myself from the television for a week. It's that good! Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia is, as we say in the video game journalism business, Nito Magneto. It's a remake of the second game in the series, Fire Emblem Gaiden, but it's really well made one. For starters, the chariot system returns from Tactics Ogre, allowing you to rewind gameplay to previous turns of your choosing. This is really good at allowing you to deal with unlucky events or misclicks. As far as I'm concerned, there is no reason not to play this game with permadeath on as a result. On top of this new mechanic, the game has been rebalanced and super conversations have been added. They're the Game Boy Advance kind, more limited in numbers than in other 3DS entries, but the character interactions within are more in-depth. It's all tasteful additions, updating the original without making it lose its identity. I especially love the magic system of Gaiden in its remake. There's a sense of risk and reward to it. Also, archers aren't garbage in this game, that's always nice. One of the greatest improvements of this game, not only over its original but also over the other two Fire Emblem games on 3DS, is in the writing department. There's a lot more depth to the characters, and the relationships being set in stone means they can fully flex their narrative muscle there as well. Thanks to the lack of avatar, your main character isn't a Mary Sue anymore, that's great! With finely tuned gameplay and great writing, Fire Emblem Echoes ended up being my favorite Fire Emblem since Path of Radiance on the GameCube. 2017 has been absolutely crazy. The game that I was most excited for years in a row, Persona 5, managed to exceed my expectations and possibly become my favorite Persona game of all time. Which should be telling, considering my avatar is a modified version of Katsuya from Persona 2. But despite all that, it managed to get buried under a ton of exciting games. Persona 5 is a refinement of the new Persona formula that began with Persona 3 on the PS2. Dungeon crawling RPG goodness mixed with dating sim-like use of time slots to improve your relationship with other characters or learn stuff or beat up a punching bag, shit like that. Persona 3 and Persona 4 had some of the weakest dungeon crawling in any JRPG, however, due to their randomized dungeons. Persona 4 simplified its battle system a bit too much for my taste as well, with easier encounters and a lot less damage types to juggle. Persona 5 brings it back 1-2 style, however, 2 physical types, additional magical types, and finally proper level design, hallelujah! Also some pretty challenging bosses along the way. The game is so stylish, like whoa mama, look at these transitions! Zoom zoom zoom, now that's the good stuff. Could have done without all these days you're forced to go to bed early though. It was very difficult to put my feelings towards Super Mario Odyssey into words. I have a lot of little gripes about the game. I'm gonna list them quickly before we transition into the reasons why it was still one of my favorite platformers in a year filled with platformers. For starters, to unlock new worlds, you have to collect moons in the latest world you have unlocked. Moons in older worlds are useless for progression, which makes exploration less enjoyable until you finish the game. Also, controls are explained to you every time you switch between worlds, which really makes moving between them a pain. That is, until you finish the game, at which point these tutorials thankfully disappear. And while I love the core Mario gameplay, and I'll get into that later, there's a lot of stuff tacked on this game. The fishing's dumb, the T-Rex feels like it was made to have something hyped to show in trailers, more than something that's actually designed to be fun to control. Jump roping in New Dunk City is dumb. The musician collection quest in New Dunk City is dumb. Having to fight every single boss multiple times is dumb. Nobody thinks back on Mario 64 and goes, oh man, fighting the big bully and King Boo multiple times was my favorite part. Make every boss like that. The optional final level is a huge disappointment. I made a whole blog about that. Camera woes, health refills everywhere, making it surprisingly easy. There's no real cohesion, and the lack of exploration and traditional platforming really hurts the level overall. It's just like a showcase of a bunch of different possession mechanics, but I don't think that's really what Super Mario Odyssey is about. But Mario Odyssey is, as far as I'm concerned, an absolutely phenomenal game between when you beat Bowser and when you reach the final level. Switching between worlds becomes surprisingly snappy. It doesn't force you to mash the A button anymore. You get the full scope of things to do in every world. You get the feeling that you're progressing no matter the world you choose to play in. There's no worrying about playing the newest stuff to unlock more content. It really becomes the game I wish it was at the very beginning when it opens up, and it's a blast to play. It helps that Mario himself has some of his finest controls ever. I may not be a fan of the moveset of controlled enemies, but Mario himself, it's so good. All in all, Super Mario Odyssey felt like the worthy follow-up to Mario 64 and Sunshine, but not one that quite managed to surpass them. With less focus on the underwhelming possession mechanic and shallow minigames, it could have become my favorite of the franchise. But as it is, I think it's a testament to Nintendo's mastery of the fundamentals that I ended up loving this game despite so many design complaints and nitpicks. A Hat in Time came out of nowhere for me. I never paid attention to the original Kickstarter, and maybe that's a good thing, because waiting 4 years for it after playing the prototype would have probably felt like torture. I'll get right to it. A Hat in Time is phenomenal. I'll get another opportunity to gush about this game later on. For now, I'll just focus on its platforming. A Hat in Time is made out of 5 different worlds to explore. There's the Mario Collectathon-like Mafia Town, the linear and story-based Deadbird Studios, the Subcon Forest, which is kind of in the middle, there's a pure sandbox with the Alpine skyline, and there's the classic lava level finally. So there's a ton of variety between each world as is, but those would be meaningless if the core gameplay wasn't any fun. And let me tell ya, it's just like the spaghetti me mama used to make. The game keeps a focus on its core mechanics all the way, using the level design instead to mix things up. The greatest thing is this game's version of the dive. You can cancel it at any time into a jump, which makes it so easy to reach every place you can think of. It's super satisfying. The camera's a bit spotty at times, for sure. In fact, it flipped the fuck out much more frequently than in Super Mario Odyssey. But A Hat in Time is just so much fun. I couldn't stop playing at all once I started the game until I got all the timepieces. There's in total 40 of them, each taking slightly longer than the typical Super Mario 64 or Sunshine and Shiny Doodad. My 100% save file clocked in at roughly 14 hours, and let me tell you, I could have easily kept going for double that. It's hard to describe Gravity Rush 2's OST. It's at times hyper Kingdom Hearts-like electronic tracks, and at other times it's this atmospheric instrumental music with vocals. It never sticks to one style, but no matter what they're going for, it's always a pleasure to listen to. Nier Automata is a sequel to Nier, so obviously it's one of the most orgasmic things my ears have ever laid eyes on. No matter the area you're in, you're assaulted with some of the sweetest lyrical tracks this side of My Heart Will Go On. Yet none of them feel like generic orchestrated gunk either. The best part of these songs not being sung in a real language, in my opinion, you don't have to focus on what the songs are saying while you play, but you can feel the emotion behind them all the same. Coming up with a runner-up was quite difficult this year. I couldn't really award Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2 anything, it's just a DLC pack. Nier Automata, while having clever color palettes, really wasn't pushing the boundaries technically. Gravity Rush 2 is breathtaking at times, but not always, and the shaky 30 FPS wasn't convincing me either. Wipeout Omega Collection and Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, they're both beautiful, but I wouldn't really award a remaster collection or a remake a prize for best visuals. Sonic Forces is at times quite pretty, but it's a case of an engine that's not really getting the creative levels it deserves. So, Sonic Mania it is! Sonic Mania's special stages are absolutely adorable, just look at this shit, amazing. Regular gameplay is also quite a treat to the eyes with smooth animations and detailed backgrounds. It's much prettier than the Sonic games on Genesis, while still having a style that fits right with them. Just don't play in split screen, okay? Just don't do it. No! I like everything about Cuphead's visual presentation. Well, except the crackles and pop, but you'll get used to them. They nailed the facial animations on all the bosses. They look like they're straight out of an old school animated television show. Not the reboot stuff, the good stuff, the Looney Tunes or Mickey Mouse. Animations are so fluid. More fluid than that, and you need an expensive university degree to study fluid mechanics to understand what you're looking at. Except the joke doesn't really work because education is pretty cheap in Quebec when compared to the rest of the world, but you get what I mean. Next category.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome legendary game designer Todd Howard.
Yeah, it's Skyrim again. In the time after F-Zero looked like this, but before it looked like this, there was Wipeout. This racing series was consistently great, except the devs released an entry exclusive to PlayStation Vita and then they were shut down. The end. But hey, at least we got a sick, nasty, fresh collection on PS4 now, so it's all good, right? I think. Anyway, it's 60 frames per second of pure high-speed, satisfying racing. Playing this game with the little brother in local multiplayer has been a blast, and there's online multiplayer too if that's more your style. It's a bit more on the technical side of racers, so you'll probably bump into walls like crazy at first, but once you get into the groove, it is satisfying as hell. Let me tell you a secret. Taiko Drum Master, low-key the best rhythm game out there. I'm just saying. It's all about you, the drum, and some incredibly weeb songs that you can't play in the background without being copyright striked, except for Toho, so I'm going with Toho. This game is genius, especially with the drum controller. It's simple to learn, but it's hard to master. There are only 2 different kind of notes, so it's surprising how deep it gets, especially at higher difficulties. There's not much to say, it's just a damn good rhythm game. You'll probably embarrass yourself if you play this in multiplayer with friends and family, but that's part of the experience. That's why you need to play this game. Cuphead is an artistic masterpiece. There's no denying, everything is expressive, fluid, and just a joy to look at. We talked about this, it is good shit. On the gameplay front though, it's a bit more mundane. Cuphead himself has some great snappy controls, but there are very few run and gun levels, and the ones that are there are pretty basic. Bosses are where the bulk of the game's content is, and they're mostly nice. My favorite has to be the battle against the opera gal who has moves from fighting games and Final Fantasy alike. It's just such a nostalgic and fun battle. But even the bosses can be a little rough at times. A couple of them seem to use random patterns that can lead to unavoidable damage. Every boss can be beaten without getting hit, but I doubt every boss can be beaten every time without getting hit. Well, it's not that big a deal, especially since the game is on the shorter side of things. It took me 5 hours to beat the game on normal, so a few forced retries can help extend the playtime. It is nice that you unlock an expert difficulty for bosses once you beat the game. All in all, it's kind of a case of style over substance, but when the style is this good, you still end up with a terrific experience. Is this really a surprise? For my favorite indie to beat my favorite platformer, I'd have to be dealing with a new Bad Rats scenario or something. And that's never happening again. That game's magic can only happen once in a lifetime. I've talked about A Hat in Time's gameplay, so now it's time to talk about how amazing its worlds are. Everything in A Hat in Time is brimming with personality and fun. In the first world, the Mafia inhabitants are regularly hilarious, and their use as both villains and good guys feels just like I'm playing a Paper Mario platformer. Another one. In fact, a lot of the game's writing feels like a tribute to the Paper Mario games, the good Paper Mario games. The Paper Mario games people will agree with me when I say they're good. Deadbird Studios is basically Glitzville and the murder on a train in the Thousand Year Door. The wit and charm of the NPCs in every world is so great at making you want to explore everything and talk to them all. It's just, man, it's such a good game. Last year, I criticized Kingdom Hearts Key Unchained and Fire Emblem Fates for their...
I watch the BASE Awards every day. Love the content. Keep up the good work.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Pickle-Richt. Very appreciated. Anyway, I criticized those games for their approaches to monetization.
Hope you have a nice day.
Well, thanks buddy. You too. As I was saying, I was criticizing these games last year for their approaches to monetization, but I couldn't have foreseen loot boxes taking over everything in 2017. Thanks, Minion Lover, for the subscription. Wow, 4 months already, huh? Sweet dude. But yeah, examples were aplenty this year. Like, think for example Forza Motorsports or Quake Champions or Nintendo's ongoing mobile initiative. While it's entirely possible to play the game without buying those, there's still something coming.
Your mom asked me to pass you some allowance for being a good boy after we had sex yesterday.
Very cool. Very cool. Anyway, there's some...
Can we have a Todoki tea in chat?
Sure, that sounds good. Yeah, let's have a Todoki tea in chat. Thank you a lot. So, it's not good. Gambling's not good, okay? And now we're gonna talk about the worst examples in 2017 of bad monetization, alright? Okay, here we go. So, the runner-up is... Oh my god.
Here comes another Chinese earthquake. BR.
The Switch Pro controller has a comfortable grip, nice weight, great battery life, nice passive features too, like motion controls and NFC reading. It's also a terrible controller. Neither D-pad nor joysticks are any good at reading your inputs for different reasons. The D-pad is designed in a way that makes even the smallest degrees of center which it presses count as a diagonal. It's unusable with precision 2D games like Puyo Puyo Tetris. The joysticks have such a small dead zone that it's impossible to flick them without them being bounced beyond their dead zone, making you input both the direction you want and its opposite. That's perfectly fine for slower 3D games like Breath of the Wild, but basically unusable for fast-paced games like Puyo Puyo Tetris. What I'm saying is that if you're an idiot like me and you buy a Switch Pro controller to play Puyo Puyo Tetris, you'll hate yourself. The Joy-Cons do a better job. Mighty good feel in the hands though. Jesus fucking Christ, I hate when that happens. You know, to me it feels like Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia got more negative publicity for its DLC than previous Fire Emblem games. Conversations about the game online couldn't go 5 minutes without people mentioning the rip-off season pass. And that's so strange to me. The total cost of Awakening's DLC is somewhere around $53. The total cost of Fire Emblem Fates' DLC is $66 or so, and the total cost of Echoes DLC is $45. That's the price of the season pass. There's something to be said about including DLC that pricey in a remake. I agree. It just feels strange to see such harsh criticism taking over conversations about the game when it ended up with the least egregious DLC in recent memory. It's still not good, but come on now. Fire Emblem Awakening and Fire Emblem Fates have both sold over 1,750,000 units each. That's confirmed from their earnings releases, not just some VG charts guesswork. Unfortunately, all we have about Fire Emblem Echoes is VG charts guesswork, because it never reached 1 million sales, and that's a real shame when the game is this enjoyable. Gravity Rush 2's online is going to shut down next year. It's thankfully not an integral part of the experience, but seeing the photos of other people around the world was really nifty. Reverting to a single player only experience is unfortunate, as it seems like the game just didn't have the popularity it deserved. The number of users in online leaderboards is under 250,000 currently, and while not every owner of the game will get far enough to start getting dusty tokens to begin with, it's also possible for a single copy of the game to be played by many people. It's really not looking good for the game's sales. And that's a shame too, because goddamn is Gravity Rush 2 great. The story is much more fleshed out than the original games, serving as a conclusion to Cat's Tale. The world is so much larger, yet each area still has its unique feel to it, and collecting stuff with Katz's gravity-defying abilities is more fun than ever with the 3 different playstyles in this game. Releasing in a year as packed as 2017 was can be a death sentence for smaller games like this. If you're looking for a charming exploration game that feels straight out of the GameCube era in all the best ways, definitely get this game. Ideally, before the server shut down. I did not expect a game this exciting to be revealed at the Xbox E3 presentation. While I love Arc System Works' Guilty Gear series, incremental updates have left me a bit tired of the newest entry, Xrd. Dragon Ball FighterZ though is looking fresh. Stylish cel-shaded visuals and Dragon Ball, they go hand in hand. The tag team gameplay is super promising too. I can't wait to team up Cell with Android 16 and Gohan. It's finally happening! Can you believe it's finally happening? How long ago was Birth by Sleep again? Fucking 8 years already. This better not disappoint. Judging from the little we can play in Kingdom Hearts 2.8, it is looking fantastic. Just look at Sora Gold. Video games are amazing.
Oh shit, I'm sorry.
Sorry for what? Our daddy taught us not to be ashamed of our dicks, especially since they're such good size and all.
Yeah, I see that. Your daddy gave you good advice.
It gets bigger when I pull on it.
PlayStation.
Mr. Cage, it seems your newest trailer is implying guys can't or shouldn't score bald hotties. What's the reasoning behind that?
Okay. Don't mess this up, David. You're a dignified artist who knows what he's doing. Just tell them about the thought process that led to this trailer, and you'll be good to go.
You wouldn't ask that of a film director.
Fuck.
I'm a huge fan of platformers, so if you can get a win in the platforming category, you pretty much automatically get a spot in my top 2. A Hat in Time managed to do the impossible by being a Kickstarter game that's not only quality, it's heckin' quality with an emphasis on the asterisk. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Which game will I crown as my favorite of 2017? A year packed to the brim with delightful experiences of all kinds. Drumroll please. My favorite game of the year is... Why? Breath of the Wild.
I feel like I'm losing hope in my body and my soul, and the sky, it looks so ominous. And as time comes to a halt, silence starts to overflow. My cries are inconspicuous. Tell me, God, are you punishing me? Is this the price I'm paying for my past mistakes? This is my redemption song. I need you more than ever right now. Can you hear me now? 'Cause we're gonna shout it loud. Even if our words seem meaningless, it's like I'm carrying the weight of the world. I wish that some way, somehow, that I could save every one of us. But the truth is that I'm only one girl. Maybe if I keep believing, my dreams will come to life. Come to life. Fades, signs of life all washed away. I can still feel the gentle breeze. No matter how hard I pray, signs of warning still remain. And life has become my enemy. Tell me, God, are you punishing me? Price I'm paying for my past mistakes. This is my redemption song. I need you more than ever right now. Can you hear me now? 'Cause we're gonna shout it loud. Even if our words seem meaningless, it's like I'm carrying the weight of the world. I wish that some way, somehow, that I could save every one of us. But the truth is that I'm only one girl. Maybe if I keep believing, my dreams will come to life. Come to life. My heart cries out, what do I call the pain? Feelings abound, now I know the name, Snow Elation. How I can't wait, these feelings resonate. It pains me so, how the time was forward but never backward. So hurry on, these feelings won't take long. They'll soon be free, and I'll overflow with true emotions. A simple dream won't satisfy this need to call you mine. I want you to find the words unspoken. You can't keep holding back. In your eyes there's warmth I could have. So just take a leap of faith and see.